Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's video we have this interior detail on this Audi TT. Now a bit of a backstory on the TT. This one is daily driven, it's used to ferry around multiple people and also a dog as well. So onto hoovering, I've started with the door cards first and then onto the higher sections of the driver's side. I then go onto the seats. I give them once over with the brush tool, and then as you'll see I'll push into the seams to help pick up any dirt from the stitch lines. On these seats they were quite deep, the stitch line, particularly just on the edges, so I've gone in again with a rectangular nozzle to help really pick up anything that's left in there hiding. I hoover the mats in place, and then once they're hoovered I'll remove them from the car to go over again later. I finish up the first pass on the footwell at this point. For me, I like to work around each seat, so I start at the drivers, then I go to the back seat behind the drivers, onto the boot, then onto any passenger back seat, front passenger seat and front dashboard on the passenger side. For me, it just works better this way. You know, I like to keep track of what I'm doing. If I get interrupted, and it just works. Onto the boot, and the carpet here is pretty hard to work with. It's got incredibly short fibres and it really holds in the dirt. I always like to use the least harsh method first, and I believe as a detailer that's what we all should be trying to do. There's no need to go in with the harshest chemical treatment process, because otherwise you're no different to a valeter at that point. I did try blowing this out, but to be honest it didn't do anything. So in the end I decided to go in with the stiff brush, agitate it and then follow up with a hoover. The boot wasn't perfect, but I had to draw a line. I think as a detailer you have to balance getting things clean and actually destroying what you're cleaning, because at this point if I'd have kept on going the fibres were beginning to fluff up and lift. For the dashboards, I generally find the best way to go over these is to hoover them, but actually to use the brush, the soft one, to push all of the dirt and any dust into the hoover itself. I use exactly the same technique for any of the screens, the radio displays and any gauges. Mats then received their final hoover, first hitting them with some all-purpose cleaner and then agitating them to dislodge anything else that was stuck in there. They also had this rubbery fabric on the edges, so I decided to spray some all-purpose cleaner onto a cloth and sort of pinch the edges as I went around the edge of the mats. At this point these are now ready to go back in the car at a later stage. Once the initial hoover is then complete on the entire vehicle, I start with the steering wheel. In this case it was done with a scrubber dubber and some leather cleaner. I've really worked over the steering wheel well. I always find this is the worst part, the dirtiest part of any car, and particularly since COVID with all the hand gels and creams and everything like that, the steering wheels, they're just getting coated in dirt and grime. I then go over any leftover leather pieces that may be in, interior trim or the seats. On this car, they weren't too bad. There was a few scuff marks, some shoe marks, very fine marks from the dog, but generally wasn't too much on this leather. Then going over all of the interior plastic trim and the suede with an all-purpose cleaner and a scrubber dubber. They're only lightly soiled, so they didn't need anything too dramatic. They didn't need steam, anything like that. The console tray, however, was covered in a little bit of mud and dust from the dog, so I've decided to spray it with an all-purpose cleaner first and then go in with the scrubber dubber and a final wipe down. As you can see, it's as good as new. There was a small spot on the front passenger seat, so quick going over with APC and scrubber dubber, and again, it's come out no problem. At this point I decided to clean the pedals, just all-purpose cleaner, stiff brush, bring them back up, you know, no problem. At this point, although the leather has been cleaned, it now needs to be protected with a moisturiser. This will stop the leather from, you know, becoming dry, from cracking. It'll also help against UV rays. This is just a simple wipe on, buff over and remove product. The interior trim pieces were then dressed using the satin dresser. They were wiped over and then buffed off to leave a matte finish. The windows were all given a wipe over. The back one was absolutely covered in dirt. It's a massive improvement from where it was to start with to how it ended up. To make cleaning the windscreen easier, I used the invisible glass tool. This helps get into all of the edges and particularly down at that front edge by the bottom of the windscreen. Personally, I like to do the driver's side first and then move on. The mats are then placed back into the car and a final hoover off camera to remove any debris, dirt that may have been either carried into the car or dislodged as we've been cleaning it has then been undertaken. Thanks again for watching and I really hope you enjoyed this video.